My collaborative team, CollaborEAT Live, provides digestible content to professionals and the public on a variety of topics relating to the collaborative practice. So welcome to My Collaborative Eat. Episodes consist of a variety of topics driven by our followers and by our members. Topics ranging from ethical considerations, best practices, problem solving, marketing, specialized topics relating to collaborative practice, practice tools, and more. Not s'mores, more. CollaborEAT Live provides thought-provoking conversation and educational information about the collaborative process. And I am delighted today to have the opportunity to share some time and talk with Diana L. Martinez, a family lawyer practicing in San Bernardino, Orange, and Los Angeles, and Riverside counties. Since 2007, her practice has been devoted exclusively to out-of-court dispute resolution through consulting, collaborative, and mediation processes. She's a past president and current board member of Collaborative Divorce Solutions of Orange County. She's a former board member and newsletter editor for the Los Angeles Collaborative Family Law Association, and she has facilitated education and enhancement of best practices in professional communities with markedly different demographics and practice philosophies, which makes you an excellent guest for today's topic. Diana, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So one of the things that throughout my experience in collaborative practice is the complaint, we ain't got no cases. And people join a collaborative group or a collaborative practice group in the expectation of getting cases. My theory about this is that the larger the group and the more active the group, the more synergy and the likelihood more cases. And I'd like to know a little bit about your experience in deciding to join a practice group to begin with, and what you've done to promote the growth of your practice groups that you're part of.
So I actually joined a practice group, Orange County group. That was the first one that I joined that was focused on collaborative. And my motivation for joining the group was a little bit different. Yes, I had just transitioned my practice to exclusively out of court. So that was a big hit because a lot of us take on so many litigation cases, and that's our bread and butter. So in 2007, I completely cut the litigation portion of my practice out. And what I needed were other professionals that I could trust and trust my clients to. So my motivation in joining a practice group was to get to know other professionals in the other disciplines to the point that I would feel confident referring people to them. So I didn't actually go into it with the goal of getting cases. I wanted quality professionals for my clients. I didn't want to just refer because I found someone on a list.
So in developing your own practice, you had gone non-litigation because you'd been trained collaboratively and decided this was a good way to live a longer and healthier life, or how did that happen?
Actually, so I had the fortune to have 3 cases pretty much back to back to back that walked in and wanted me to just mediate, wanted me to help them resolve. Either, I think 2 of them were mediation, 1 of them was more of a consulting. They didn't want to litigate. And so that was my introduction, was kind of, I was thrown into it and I really liked it. And so I started getting training. So that was, I want to say, back in 2000. And then I got pregnant with twins.
Congratulations.
And that, thanks. My first pregnancy, and my body wasn't quite ready for 2. And so it was a really tough pregnancy, and I was pretty much forced to turn my practice over to my partner at that point in time. So once I had my boys, and I had a few years that I just spent focused on the boys, and I started coming back into practice. I do a little bit briefs here and there just to stay current and relevant, but I had to reopen and restart my practice. And so when my boys started school is when I started reopening my practice, and I remembered how much I enjoyed those 3 cases and decided that was going to be my focus. So I was fully up and running in 2007. And I had taken on a few litigation cases just to get myself back up and running. But in 2007 was when I completely cut that part out. My motivation was I didn't want to be on a court calendar. My husband's a litigation attorney. He does criminal defense, federal criminal defense specialist, always in court on long cause cases. And I just didn't want to have not have the ability to go to my son's practices and recitals and things like that. So that was another part of my motivation. But I really did enjoy the out of court work. And then it was at that time that I met, I think, through Southern California Mediation Association. That was one of the first groups that I joined with because they did my formal training for mediation. So that's when I got more involved with the SCMA, Southern California Mediation Association. That was where I met Forrest Mostyn, Woody Mostyn, and a financial professional who had worked with Woody as well, Stephanie Maloney. And both of them were saying, you know what, you really should look at collaborative. And just as you said, that was my first thought was, why would I go back to working with family lawyers? I mean, I like being a mediator. And so that's what actually got me onto the training for collaborative. And then I found the Orange County group and decided, and the LA group. I was on the board with LACFLA for a while. I just really liked the training. There's like the Orange County practice group, out of all the collaborative groups that I've been a part of, they're just so ahead of the game when it comes to substantive training. Every month, most groups will have a luncheon meeting for each month. Every month we had a substantive speaker, whether it was how to have a difficult conversation, or maybe it was, how to respond to a client who is having difficulties with transparency, how to work efficiently with a coach. So they were always substantive trainings every month. And then they would have monthly roundtables where we would go deeper. So you take a luncheon program, kind of gives you an overview, and then we would all practice it, or we would go deeper in a roundtable. So I just found that was something that really attracted me and really distinguished that practice group from all the others that I'd participated in. And then, like I said, I went into it to find professionals for my clients, people that I would trust with my own family, and do, as a matter of fact, family and friends. And I would find someone and I'd say, hey, do you want to go out to lunch, my treat, or I'll meet you for coffee? Or if a client tells me my spouse retained this attorney, whether they were collaborative or litigation, or I didn't know very much about them, call up and say, hey, do you want to get together for coffee?
Outside of the phone call and outside of the 9 to 5 experience. What a novel idea.
And Rula Suter is an attorney. She's this year she's our incoming board with the Orange County group. That was how I actually met her and introduced her to the practice group. She was retained by my client's spouse. And I called her up and said, hey, this is kind of my approach. This is what I do. Are you open to the idea of collaborative? Have you been trained in mediation and collaborative? Oh, I've heard about it. I said, you know what, let's get together for coffee, my treat. And we did. That was back in the day when you didn't have to wear masks. And we did. And we just hit it off. And I could tell it was in her nature. I said, you know what, there's a training coming up. You might want to take a look at it. And that's what started that one. Now she's on the board with our Orange County group. She's on the incoming board.
So part of what you're saying is that you come to collaborative backwards, if you will. You decided on your own that litigation wasn't for you. You had the good fortune and the accidental good fortune of having cases that you were delighted in. And you decided when you went back to practice to go that route, and found collaborative in order to, if you will, supplement or complement your own practice. And then you became involved. And then you became, I like to say out here on the East Coast, there's a fellow in Florida, every member of our particular practice group has gone to lunch with him at least once. He's probably been to a lot more lunches of people who said collaborative is not for me. But what you're saying is that you've helped your practice group grow by taking folks one at a time and finding out if you're compatible, if this is someone you'll refer to, and if this is someone whose nature, who may not have already learned about collaborative, is inclined to learn about it. How hard a sell has that been to other family law attorneys?
It really, it's not easy if they've been entrenched in litigation and really haven't had a positive mediation experience or have a complete misunderstanding about collaborative. In fact, it's easier if it's somebody who's never heard of collaborative than someone who's had a, not a great understanding. And you kind of get that feel like, and I'm sure most of us have had that experience where you're on the phone with the other spouses or the other partner's attorney, and you get that feeling when they're talking real fast, when they interrupt you, when they're so focused on the law, it's probably not someone who's going to be very open-minded. Okay.
So being part of these few collaborative groups all around the county, whether it be live, it's probably easier on Zoom. What do you notice that's different about the groups that makes one group more successful in attracting more collaborative members than another, without perhaps naming names? But one of the things you've said is offering educational opportunities.
I think that's a big one. When you're known as a group that is actually doing a lot more substantive, I think first off, if you go into a collaborative practice group, any practice group, and the sole focus is marketing, is getting more cases, you're already setting yourself up for failure, because that's why everybody, if everybody comes into it with that idea, it's too superficial. You're not necessarily going to get that deeper connection. So I think you have to come into it with the mentality of really making connections, not of getting cases. Is this somebody I'm going to want to work with? I will tell you honestly, a lot of practice groups have a really hard time increasing their numbers. And I'm not really sure why that is. I think maybe it's just a lack of education about what collaborative is, because every time I've invited a litigator to come to our programs, they walk away having learned something they can use in their next mediation that they attend as litigation counsel. They have a different approach for when they talk with their opposing counsel. So they see the benefit of it, but a lot of groups have a really difficult time increasing their numbers. I know our Sacramento group is huge. I mean, they do a really great job of getting people to come in and getting people to sign up and become members. But I hear the same complaint even with them, is we're not getting the cases. So I don't know what the disconnect is there. What I can tell you from my own experience and how it's helped me out is I didn't come into it with an idea of this is going to help me increase my caseload. I came into it with the idea of this is going to help me create trusted relationships with whom I can send clients and feel confident. And what ends up organically growing from there are opportunities to do presentations. People introduce me to people in Florida, and so it's just grown exponentially each time. But I also do invest a lot of my time in it.
Yes.
So
and so I think one of the things that I've admired about you from our first contact about divorce options out in California, and hearing you, to sum up, because we could talk probably for another hour about the importance of relationships, but that's exactly what you're focusing on, and that's exactly what seems to have led to your success, is that the relationships are important. And you've used the word, the practice grows organically. Whereas if you're looking for cases, you're going to be chronically disappointed and leave the practice group. I want to thank you so much for participating. You can be assured that once this gets posted on the web, that you're going to be invited back to continue this discussion. And I'm hoping you'll say yes, right? Because it's kind of like a kind of a naturally organic marketing, this is how I did it discussion. And I think you're going to be asked back one more time at least. So thank you so much.